Let me be clear. We love the player. I want the player here today. I want the player here tomorrow. But it's clear that he cannot be involved. We've had discussions and I don't see the situation changing before the first game of the season against Aston Villa. Words of Eddie Howe last night talking about the Alexander situation. Many now believing that Isak himself is now on strike and not willing to participate or be part of Eddie Howe's Newcastle United. Going to talk about all of that in today's video as well. Newcastle played a football game last night against Espanyol. 2-2 was the scoreline. Some highs and lows of that one, so we'll talk about that as well. And then, believe it or not, that same interview did have a bit of a positive upturn with Eddie Howe discussing transfers, will to succeed this season, and the owners, the stadium, and the training ground, believe it or not. So loads and loads of talk on Isak, but actually there was some good stuff in there that I want to get into as well. Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. An early start this morning, an early start for a Saturday after a late Friday night. So it is a cup of tea time, and we will get into it. As always, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I've asked on the last few videos, and loads of you guys have jumped on it. It's really helping the numbers fly on the channel at the moment. It helps me out, helps push the channel a little bit further. And I will be at the game today, back at St James's Park today. Looking forward to it. Despite all of this off-the-field noise, fairly excited for it. I think possibly because the transfer window has been quite painful. Looking forward to getting back into the football and wanting to will the lads on and cheer the players on. Because as I say, there was a positive upturn in that interview, and Eddie Howe did kind of bring a little bit of life back to what was otherwise quite a very Alexander Isak negatively fueled conversation. Gave a little bit of a positive spin on it, and yeah, I've woke up this morning feeling somewhat excited to go back to St James. So I'm looking forward to it. But yes, so we will start off with a few bits on last night's game. Should we start off with the striker? So obviously no Isak. Will Asula, the only available striker. He's just raw. I like Asula. I like Asula for what he is. I think he comes off the bench. He runs ragged. He brings energy. But I just don't think he's ready to lead. I don't think he was ready to lead a line in a friendly against Espanyol. I definitely do not think he's ready to lead a line really this season. Unless it's against, Wimbledon in a cup, and then maybe he will do all right. But yeah, based on last night, he looked a bit lost. I think it's tough for him because there was so many changes in the squad. Obviously, we're playing 2 friendlies over 2 days. There's going to be loads of changes. Everyone getting a bit of game time. Loads of kids playing. He had, Neve, Alfie Harrison coming in. So in fairness to Asula, if he was playing with Tonali, Bruno, Murphy was there, Gordon, maybe that would have helped him a little bit more. But you know what? I would argue that Park So Young, Park So Soo, who came on, obviously the South Korean lad that we took out to South Korea, that at the time looked a little bit gimmicky. We've turned up and we've got our own South Korean player. But my God, I think he was probably the player of the tournament for me. And he was great again. Again, yesterday, Eddie Howe said he's excited to have him involved. And he'll definitely keep him around for pre-season. We have seen this before at times. I remember Sanusi a couple of years ago looked like a real live one. And then obviously just because he's a bit young, just didn't quite feature enough. And Eddie Howe said that. He said he's still young. He needs to be careful with his physicality, how he's managed. Lewis Miley came in and had a fantastic breakthrough season, and it totally just wiped him out for a year because he was knackered, I think, had an injury, and then I took that time to bulk up. And in fairness, I thought it was pretty damn decent last night as well. So that's really positive, despite the lack of numbers available to us last night. Having players like Miley step up and get involved. Having players like Matt Target play in centre midfield and score a goal is also good for us. Because I wouldn't have minded seeing him leave this summer. That's not going to happen. He's getting paid too much money. But in fairness, he had a smile on his face. He played quite well, and he scored a goal. So, yeah, big up Matty Target. Who knows? Maybe he can. And we've talked about, wanting cover for Hall this season. Yeah, I still don't think Matty Target's probably got it in him to play Champions League football. But, for what it's worth, a few minutes here and there, if he's going to start to perk up a little bit, because he hasn't the last few years, then I'm all for it. Bruno, I think, carried the team on his back a lot last night. I think Bruno was probably one of the most senior players on the pitch. Tomorrow we've got... Sorry, I keep saying tomorrow, don't I? It's today, Rob. Wake up. Today we have Atletico Madrid at St. James's Park, which I'm going to. So I need to remember it's today so I actually get there on time. It's going to have Tonali, it's going to have Joe Linton, it's going to have Trippier, it's going to have Elanga, it's going to have Gordon. I think we've pulled a lot of the big names back for what's probably going to be the more challenging game today. So big up to Bruno for basically pulling the team along yesterday. And you know what? The best thing about Bruno's performance yesterday, he was smiling. Bruno walking into the stadium, full smile on his face, buzzing to be back. There's so much negativity. Alexander Isak doesn't want to be here. Bruno absolutely loving it, walking in, smile on his face, cannot wait to get started. And that was part of why I'm a little bit more perky today for the game later on. But as I say, we knew the post-match interview was going to be filled with questions about Alexander Isak, and Eddie Howe didn't hold back. I think he let it loose, and I think it has given two different interpretations on the situation. One, that Isak has gone on strike and does not want to play and will not play and cannot, in the words of Eddie Howe, Isak cannot be involved. Cannot be involved. Suggests that he does not want to be involved. The other side of the story is, and I think the one I would probably lean towards, is that because of the way he's acting, Eddie Howe cannot allow him to basically come in, and these are my words, poison the morale of the side. So yes, a few little bits on that one. So Eddie Howe basically saying, I love the player, I want him to train, but it's clear he cannot be involved in the side. It would be strange if Isak was on... I get it. I think it's both. I don't think either are perfect. Eddie Howe did say that he has spoken with Isak, but that he would prefer to leave those conversations in private. He did not want to air the dirty laundry of the conversation. Or maybe, even at this point, he's still trying to protect Alexander Isak. He doesn't want to tell the world, yeah, well, I've spoken with Alex, and he says he doesn't want to be here, he doesn't want to play, and that he's basically on strike, and he can't be chewed. And despite the fact that he's contracted to the side, doesn't want to be involved. And I fully accept that kind of interpretation from people. Because I definitely think there'll be an element of that which is true. But I have to say, the way Eddie Howe then goes on to talk about, as I say, it's clear he cannot be involved. Eddie Howe's very aware of the feeling of the squad right now, and there is no benefit to the group. So essentially saying that to have Isak come in, someone who doesn't want to be here, doesn't want to play, probably won't run around as hard, probably won't try as hard. He does not want to have that integrated into the group, and I totally respect that, and I think it's the right thing to do. As I say, if Isak was on strike, it would be strange for him to be on strike playing, but that he wouldn't be on strike to still going in and training on his own in the afternoon, unless basically the conversation is the balance, which is Isak going, I think this is why I think this is why it makes sense to me. Isak doesn't want to hand in a transfer request because he doesn't want to lose his sponsors, because he doesn't want to get a change to his pay packet, because he doesn't want those things to happen. So Isak's like, yeah, I'll play. And then he's having a conversation with Eddie Howe where he's like, but I don't actually want to be here. I don't want to get involved. I'm not going to try very hard. I don't want to get injured in case it spoils the move. You've got people interpreting it there. Eddie Howe said, I cannot play Isak, is leading people to think, is it somebody upstairs? Is it the ownership who are saying, Eddie, we may well be getting 150 million for this guy in 2 weeks. We really can't have Joe Linton kicking him in half in the middle of training. Which, again, I think that's a very valid viewpoint on what has been said yesterday evening. But I still back it with Eddie Howe. I think it's Eddie Howe doing what he believes is right for the team and not involving them. I think Isak has said, I don't want to have these things that I just listed. I don't want to put in my transfer request. I don't want to have a lack of. I don't want to lose my sponsors. I don't want to have Adidas money pulled because it says I don't want to wear the shirts anymore. He's gone out, so I will play. And Eddie's gone, no. What you can do is you can go and train on your own. So that way, Isak's not breaking his kind of contractual agreement because he is training. But Eddie Howe saying, look, I'm not having him involved. I'm not having Bruno smiling away, trying to get excited for the season, and then you've got Isak moping around. It can't. And I get it. I totally get it. And I think it sounds like Eddie Howe's doing the right thing. And this is when Eddie Howe started to kind of bring a bit of positivity to the conversation. He went on to talk about, again, the feeling of the squad, the feeling of the players, and basically, he is the man holding it together. There's no question. And I will say, there was a point, and I'm going to come on to it in a moment, about the owners, what was said about them, what was said about the stadium, what was said about the training ground. Why is the world on Eddie Howe's shoulders? It is not for Eddie Howe to be breaking this kind of stuff. But yes, the positive. He said that he wants the team, that he wants the squad to feel united. Using the word, it felt like the us against the world again. Back when we were basically relegated, and Eddie Howe came in and totally changed the mindset of the squad, totally changed the mindset of the players, saved us from relegation. He actually said like this. He's so open. He said last season we signed no one. And everybody wrote us off. And everyone went, yeah, no, Newcastle have had their moment in the Champions League. They're done. They're not coming back. And then went on to have arguably the best season in the club's recent history, winning a cup and getting Champions League again. So Eddie Howe did that last time. He essentially was saying it again. And I felt myself bubbling up. It's get this season going. We've got a tough start, like Villa away, Liverpool at home. Let's hope we'll get something from those games and really kind of push the momentum. Because if we don't, it's going to be an absolute cauldron. But he's getting and I feel like that could be behind the scenes. Is there an element of Isak being totally left out? Get bubbling up in the squad as well. It's like, you know what? People are writing us off. Isak doesn't want to play for us. We're gonna go out there and we're gonna show the world. That was the feeling Eddie was giving me, which I really, really. As I say, was bubbling me up. I'm bubbling up now. He's got that way. And if he's doing that with me through a TV screen, there's undoubtedly he will be creating some real motivation for the players going at this season. So regardless of transfers that we'll still hope to get done, and I'll talk about them in a second, he's still fueling that squad to want to compete this season, which is massive. And that is Eddie Howe. That is the Eddie Howe effect. He's done it for 3 years. The frustration thing is, we didn't want to have to do it again. He's having to do it again. Oh, God, someone just give us a bloody paper clip and a rubber band, anything, and try and fix something together, because we're doing it again, having to fuel the players on bloody, drips, give the man some fuel. But, as I say, he did continue to go on about the positivity and went on about the owners as well. He was flat out asked the question, do you think the owners are still committed to this Newcastle United project? And it's a great question, but never, some of the questions now, people constantly criticize the journalists sometimes on just I was going to say brain dead, that's my word, and probably harsh, but sometimes the questions are poor. Big up people like the Geordie Journos. I think they're really good. They listen to the fans and ask the questions they want to hear. Appreciate this one was hugely Isak related, but over the years there has been some terrible ones. Are you going to the Sam Fender concert? So yes, asking a question like that, are the owners bothered? I love it. Ask the man the big questions. And anyhow, it was like, yes, they are. They're as committed as they've ever been. He was like, behind the scenes, there is so much going on that you can't see. Things like the stadium. This is Eddie Howe's words now. It's not just me. Things like the stadium, things like the training ground take time, but they are going on and they are as committed as they ever were on day one. That is massive. People are, and you know what? Eddie Howe's going to say that anyway. Eddie Howe's going to say it, what he thinks is right. People are getting upset with the PIF buying Nunes. PIF have given money to more Premier League teams in the last 2 years, and they've given to us to spend on transfers. So I think it's a very welcome and fair question to ask. But my big thing is, and in this moment, Eddie Howe was flying. This is when the positivity was booming. He's pushing for the squad. He's pushing for a big finish next season. He's seeing that things behind the scenes are going on. That was great. But earlier on in that conversation, it felt a little bit like, you know, Eddie Howe's been wheeled out to just face it all on his own. And it's the job of the manager. It's the job of the manager, and Eddie Howe's taking it in his stride, and he continues to do so. But why the hell is there nobody upstairs? Why is it radio silence? No Amanda, no Murdad, no Darren Eales. Why is everything so quiet? Why does it take Eddie Howe? Eddie Howe already has the world on his shoulders. He did, and you know what? The Isak stuff as well. He actually laughed about the challenges of the Isak situation. He was asked if the Isak situation is the toughest challenge he's faced in his career, and he almost laughed and went, I get challenges all the time. Every day is a new challenge, laughing. He said it's probably the most high-profile one, but almost kind of smiled about it. And I think it's Eddie Howe. He's taking it in his stride. We're off at the side, off in the background, flapping about it. And Eddie Howe's like, yeah, got this guy who doesn't really want to be here, but we're going to try and... I didn't say this bit. This is me now. Going to try and sell him. Going to try and bring in some targets. And he said he still was upbeat about the transfer window. He was still upbeat about the transfer window, saying that there's still time to get stuff done. And he is hopeful. Yeah, I know, not the most concrete word to use. He is hopeful that Newcastle can finish this transfer window strong. And I'm a cup of sip of my tea. Sorry, I've been talking for way longer than I planned. So we'll finish with the transfers. So yes, big news coming out last night that Wizard is essentially on his way to the club, which, you know, he's behaved like a naughty boy as well, throwing his toys out the pram. But we need a striker desperately, and it looks like Wizard is on his way. Samu has been linked heavily last night as a player that Newcastle are looking at. I think he suits the profile, 21 years old. Big, strong, powerful lad. Isn't particularly intricate. Like, he may well grow to be, you know. And that's the thing. God, the video is about Isak, so I'll talk about him one more time. I felt sorry for Eddie Howe in that interview, talking about Isak. He brought Isak in. Isak was somewhat unknown. Isak didn't have, you know, an absolute flyer at Real Sociedad. He had a good season, and he was 60 million. And he brought him in, and he turned him into 100. And look, some of it's Isak. Isak can see it however way Isak wants to see it. Isak might think he's, you know, God's gift, and by all intents and purposes, he's a very, very good footballer, one of the best in the world. So maybe he is God's gift. But Eddie Howe is a massive part of the careers of Jacob Murphy's turnaround, Joe Linton turnaround, bringing Bruno into English football and winning him a trophy. Gordon's turnaround. Alexander Isak becoming the footballer he is. And honestly, that's the thing, I felt somewhat sorry. It's like he looked let down, massively let down. He's still saying, I would love to have him involved. I'd love to have him a part of this. But he just physically, he just cannot with the way that Isak's behaving. But yes, new transfers. Samu being like, I like Samu. I think he's a strong beast of a character. Murphy will put the ball in and he'll smack it at 100 miles an hour through the back of the net and into row Z. I love it. I think it can't just be him though. You need a Wizard to go with it, because Wizard can be more involved in build-up play, etc. Samu's the man you stick on the penalty spot and just leave him there. Don't even bother tracking back, kid. just stand there. In fairness, I'm being mean. He runs the channels well. He's very fast, very strong. I don't see him dropping deep and doing a few 1-2s with Bruno, but maybe that's not what we need. We need Murphy whipping the ball in. We need Elanga cut back and whipping the ball in. We need Gordon whipping the ball in. We need Barnes whipping the ball in. Strangely enough, the two wings positions are fairly well stacked, so I'm quite pleased with that. It's the strikers that will continue to be talked about. And as Eddie Howe said, he does not envisage any changes between now and Villa. So the season looks like it will start with Newcastle having Alexander Isak still on the books, still the number 14. The question is, can we have a number 9 before the window runs out? There you go, guys. That was super long. So if you have enjoyed it with your cup of tea and your breakfast this morning or whatever you're up to, thank you for watching. If you are at the game later on today and you spot me, do feel free to say hello. Do feel free to buy me a pint. No, I'm only joking. We'll have a cheers with the pint together. We'll smile through what... And that's what Eddie Howe did. Eddie Howe smiled through, what was an extremely awkward conversation. And as I say, somehow made it a little bit positive. So I did wake up this morning, feeling fairly excited for the game. I think it's just going back to St. James's Park. I'm excited for it. So yes, enjoy the day. As I say, if you do enjoy these updates, and you know what, if you're still watching now, hit subscribe, help the guy out. If you're not going to the game today, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Nice chill one. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.